There's a part in the film where towards the end, finally, like the mom is like getting told, like your son is getting, like he's going to jail. He's already convicted of all these mass murders. And you have to realize, at least the way they present it, I don't know how much exactly the movie coincides with the reality of the experience, but the way they present it is that like you have this mother who for, I don't know, 20 years, 25, 30, I don't know how old Ted Bundy was at the time, but she had this vision of this representation in her mind of who Ted Bundy was, her son. And he was just a loving, sweet, kind, good son. And all of a sudden, your psyche is getting flooded with information that everything you saw about reality of who your son is not reality at all. And in fact, it's so far from reality, it's scary. He's a brutal rapist, he's a brutal murderer. And for the psyche to all of a sudden adjust that is, it's not only, I would say it's impossible, I would say it's dangerous, I would say it's a risk, I would say there's only so much a psyche can handle, and a psyche requires time and a process to develop and to organize the material within it to get to the conclusion of how did I get so off, to process the guilt, to process the regret, to process what I did wrong, to process how did I miss this. It's not something you can snap your finger and you can achieve. Within let's say Jung's work, in Jung's psychological types, he breaks out two psychological attitudes, introversion and extroversion. Within cosmic psychology, we call it the left hand of the psyche and the right hand of the psyche. And it's about developing psychological ambidexterity. The left hand of the psyche, which corresponds to Jung's introversion and also to Fromm's being mode of existence, is about constructing your inner world. It's about making conscious sense of psychological material about things you experience in your life that are complicated. And also, what's a little bit more confusing, it's also about making sense and organizing what you inherited from prior incarnations. And you can't skip and bypass this process. You either do it or you don't. And you have to face things that are difficult, that are painful, that you kind of, in a sense, need to be willing to die on a regular basis, because what you're doing is you're trying to, instead of grow your skill as a pianist or as a basketball player, you're trying to cultivate your ability to perceive deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And the only way to perceive deeper is to kill the last level of perception you achieved. So if a person arrives, and I say this with like humility and humbly, I can't explain it enough. I've been studying classical texts and so many psychologists and philosophers for 20 years, and taking this work so seriously in my internal being, it's quite scary. I can't even explain how serious I take it. And yet I can tell you, if I don't achieve a newer level of perception a month from now, I would be upset with myself. It would mean that I think I already arrived, right? The irony is, though, and this is something kind of from Socrates, is like, typically speaking, people who know so little think they know so much. People who start to know a lot, they actually realize, holy fuck, I really know so little. You know, when eventually I start sharing more of the ideas of cosmic psychology, one of the big things I'm going to do is share what I know. But there's also clear areas of investigation that I know this area is not investigated enough. This area is not investigated enough. This area is not investigated enough. I like to invite the psychologists of the future, the philosophers of the future. Let's investigate these areas because we don't know enough about them. The irony of like modern man or postmodern man is that we think we're wiser and more smart than a lot of the individuals that lived 2,000, 3,000, maybe even 10,000 years ago. Whereas I believe quite deeply, I'm quite confident, I don't want to say certain, but quite confident, we are much more advanced technologically. We have much more physical abundance and stuff like that. But as far as being psychologically developed, there were a lot more people 2,000 years ago that are a lot more psychologically developed than any human being on earth right now. Right? So there's more to discover, there's more to see.